Hey peeps, Florida Jeeper here. I know that there are a lot of new people to the Dinarland and RV world, and then there's some who have been around for a while, some have been around for decades. So I want to just do kind of a one-on-one Dinarland one-on-one video, just to kind of go over some of the Dinarland buzzwords that you hear that people just throw out there, and you're kind of just left to figure it out for yourself. So hopefully this will be a helpful video to make sense of some of the lingo that you hear. Everything that I'm about to discuss is in my opinion. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So let's get started. So how did we come to this thing we call Dinarland? So in the first Gulf War, Iraq invaded Kuwait. So in order to keep Iraq from financing their war machine with Kuwaiti dinar, the powers that be devalued the Kuwaiti dinar. And then at the end of the Gulf War, they set a date and they revalued the Kuwaiti dinar. So those who were in the know at the time, who had heavily invested in the Kuwaiti dinar, when it revalued, they suddenly found themselves with a lot of wealth. So that was the pilot program for what was going to happen with the Iraqi dinar. This was set in motion by the Bush family, allegedly. So now here we find ourselves investing in the Iraqi dinar. This was supposed to be a quicker RV process than what it has turned into. It has morphed into a giant multi-tentacle monster that we now call Dinarland. So how does that fit into the RV, as many people say? And that stands for revaluation of currencies. So there are a few currencies, 209 in the first basket of currencies that were supposed to or are supposed to be revalued. There's a lot of speculation because this has drug on for so long. Who is supposed to be in it, who is not. At the time, I think the Iranian rial was supposed to be in it, but obviously in April 2025, we understand that it looks like we might go to war with Iran, so I kind of doubt that they're going to be in the first basket. And there are also some tensions with Venezuela. So the Venezuela Bolivar is up in the air whether it's going to go first or not. So, but the main currencies that are supposed to go in the first round are, of course, the Iraqi dinar, the Vietnam dong, and also the Indonesia rupiah. And there's going to be some others, as we're told, but those are the main ones that we focus on. Also, Zen bonds. Zen bonds are commonly referred to as a 100T note because they were 100 trillion Venezuela dollar note back in the day, 2008, 2009. So those are kind of the dark horse wild card. Nobody knows for sure what or if they're going to be worth. There's a lot of speculation about it, and we could have a 3-hour conversation on all the details about that. So we're not going to do that for time's sake. So moving forward, how do we find out when the RV actually happens? The best way that we've been told through all the talking head gurus is to go to dinarrecaps.com and sign up for their newsletter. It comes out a couple times a day. You do not have to subscribe to it. It's free. There is a subscription option that just gets you the newsletter an hour or so before the rest of us get it, but it's still the same information. It's just a sneak preview, I guess. But that's the best way to get alerts. Find people on Twitter and Telegram to follow. My links are in my homepage. And then just get plugged in. Learn as much as you can. And that's the best way to be alerted when this thing finally does happen. It is a speculative investment. And you'll hear that term thrown around a lot because as we invest in this, there is no guarantee of a return. Logic, fundamentals, following news out of Iraq will tell us that it sure does look like it's getting ready to revalue. And the reason that most people talk about dinar and Iraq the most is because they're in the news several times a day, every day. Okay, so Iraq is the easiest nation out there to track that is involved in the RV process. So that's why we talk about Iraq so much. Another thing that you will hear a lot about is something called CMKX. So what CMKX is a stock market ticker for CMKM, which was a diamond mine back in the day that they got called, their shorts got called, and a lot of people got, screwed out of a lot of money, for lack of a more PC description. So there was a lawsuit and lots of money was put into an account, and the holders of CMKX, CMKN are waiting for their payday, and that will be a part of fines and penalties. So what is fines and penalties? Fines and penalties are exactly that. They're fines and penalties that the United States government and I guess other governments owe their people due to things like CMKX being shorted. There's also farm claims lumped in with fines and penalties. Indian nations, American Indian, Native American nations, they're going to get reparations. And then there's a couple others that are thrown in there. So when you hear people say fines and penalties, that's kind of what that is. All right, another big buzzword that you are going to hear are tiers. Tier 3 bonds people. Tier 4A, Tier 4B, and Tier 5. Tier 5 is just the general public. So when all the dust settles, anyone who wasn't a part of the RV process, but they may have been a soldier or a contractor overseas in Iraq that they just happen to have some currency, and all of a sudden it's coming across the news that hey, dinar is now worth $3, $4, $5, whatever it is. That's Tier 5. That's just the general public, and then they can just go walk into Chase or Wells Fargo or wherever, turn that in, and get the money, to get the difference for it. Okay, so Tier 3 is commonly referred to as bonds holders, bonds people, and those are people who have historical bonds, German bonds, railroad bonds, U.S. saving bonds, and they have massive amounts of them. So like we're talking boxes of them. So in that bonds world, you'll hear bond traders who they will find out if I have 3 boxes of grandpa's German bonds from World War II, and they find out about it, they'll come to me and offer me half of what they're worth or a third of what they're worth, but I get my money right now. So those are bond aggregators or traders. bond holders are in the same situation. If I have 3 boxes of Grandpa's German bonds sitting there, I'm a bond holder because I physically hold those bonds. And at some point, if I've signed up or if I've registered somehow and those bonds start getting paid out, I will be able to go and turn those in for money. So that's the bond world. So Tier 4A, what is Tier 4A? So those are people who were in this from the beginning, and at a certain point they were allowed the opportunity to do an SKR. And what is an SKR? Safekeeping receipt. So basically what that meant is they took their currency to a facility, a bank, whatever it was, turned it in. Their currencies were validated, proven that they weren't any type of counterfeit. They were digitized, and you were giving a receipt. Back in the day, I'm sure it was paper receipt versus digital, but now it would be a digital receipt. So their money has already been accounted for. So when the RV does happen and the currencies changes, they're already in the bank and accounted for, so they'll get those instantly. What is a Tier 4B? So basically, Tier 4B is anyone in the last few years who have learned about this process and went and bought currency from whatever source, and you physically hold it. You're part of Tier 4B. A lot of times it's referred to as the intranet group because all of us have found this opportunity via the internet, YouTube, and different sites. So that's Tier 4B. Another word that you will hear is whales. And what is a whale? Think of us as just a fish, and a whale, a whale in the ocean is massive. So a whale holds massive amounts of currency. So these are people who are millionaires who have invested heavily in currency, and they hold truckloads of, pallets of currency. So that's a whale, where they hold, pallets of bonds. Basically, think of it like the Beverly Hillbillies. You had Mr. Drysdale, the banker, and whatever the Clampetts wanted, this guy would bend over backwards to make it happen. So the Clampetts would have been a whale. So just kind of think of it in that term. As far as Iraq goes, you're going to hear, not so much anymore, but there for a while was a common phrase, NEER, N-E-E-R, versus REER, R-E-E-R. So NEER stands for nominal exchange rate, which means a very low amount. So if Iraq decided to go with a NEER in their revaluation process, it would be $1.76, something low. And then they would float up to the REER. And the REER is a real effective exchange rate. So that means $3, $4, $5, $6 for $1 US. So that's NEER and REER as far as Iraq's concerned. And the last thing I want to talk about is redemption centers and 1-800 numbers. So it's told the Fable Redemption Center is going to be a place where you can take all of your currencies for a predetermined higher rate, and you'll be able to go there, set up an appointment, and take your currencies in, cash it in, set up accounts with bankers and different things, and go along your merry way. So in 2025, now those have kind of morphed into redemption banks. So it'll be if you bank at Chase, you'll go to a major Chase bank, not just a local branch, and then they will validate your currency right there in front of you and do the exchange process for you. It's still up in the air which one is which, and if one's fabled and the other's real. So we're not going to know that until it happens. So another thing, and this is the last one I'm going to talk about, are 1-800 numbers. So back in the day when all this started, post Gulf War, post Second Gulf War, there wasn't the internet the way it is now. So they were going to send out 1-800 numbers. So you had to register some way, shape, or form to receive this 1-800 number. And then you would dial that number. Person on the other end would ask you your zip code. And then they would give you, options as far as here's a redemption center, or now we say redemption bank, within an hour driving distance, and then away you go. So that could still be a real thing, because again, there's people that have been in this for decades and they may not have updated or signed up for something electronically. So again, we're not going to know what's real and what's not until the day of, and we finally find out for sure from the U.S. Treasury or some legitimate source. So that's it. That's it in a nutshell. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if you want some sort of a follow-up video, and we'll do our best to get that knocked out. That's it for now. It's Florida Jeeper. Thanks for watching. And as always, I appreciate your time, and we'll catch you on the next video.